cited or arrested.
You can't have a job unless you have a stable place to live. And getting a stable place to live without a job is almost impossible.
Behind America's grand image lies a dark side rarely shown. In January 2024, more than 771,000 people were reported homeless, a staggering 32% increase since 2022. Many now live in makeshift communities known as homeless encampments or tent cities, stretching from Los Angeles to Philadelphia. These camps are more than just places to sleep. They're ground zero for a humanitarian crisis, plagued by conflict, disease, and dwindling hope. But who are the people living here? How do they survive? And what exactly is failing in our system? Let's explore the 10 largest homeless camps in the United States. First on the list is Skid Row, the most visible face of America's homelessness crisis. Located in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, Skid Row spans 54 city blocks and houses over 4,600 people, most of whom live in tents, broken-down RVs, or run-down single-room occupancy units. This area began to grow in the early 20th century, fueled by urban migration, poverty, and discriminatory housing policies. Today, its population includes veterans, survivors of domestic violence, the unemployed, and individuals suffering from severe mental health disorders. The conditions are dire. Poor sanitation, the constant stench, gang-related violence, and the widespread use of fentanyl and synthetic drugs make it one of the most dangerous areas in the city. Despite efforts from government programs and nonprofits like LASA and Skid Row Housing Trust, deep-rooted bureaucracy and a severe housing shortage continue to worsen the situation. Residents like Corey Patterson, who lives in a deteriorating SRO unit, have spoken out about the daily chaos, overdoses, crumbling buildings, and constant fear. Still, amid the suffering, there's a sense of community. People look out for one another in the face of human trafficking, drug epidemics, and violence. Still in California, we head to San Jose, where the jungle once stood as one of the largest homeless encampments in the United States. Hidden behind thick brush along Coyote Creek, this 75-acre area was home to around 300 people between 1999 and 2014, many of whom held full-time jobs but still couldn't afford rent. With tents, tree houses, and makeshift huts, this encampment resembled a small city built on mutual aid and resilience. Despite the strong sense of community, the jungle faced severe sanitation issues, environmental hazards, and frequent violence. The city of San Jose allocated $4 million to relocate residents, but a lack of affordable housing made the transition nearly impossible. Even by 2024, advocacy groups like Helping Hands continued to protest forced evictions, calling them inhumane. Today, the area is slated to become a public park, yet residents like Jose Pantin remember the jungle as the only place where they truly felt accepted. Located in Spokane near the I-90 and Freya-Thor intersection, a spot that's highly accessible but technically illegal, this encampment began in late 2021 as a protest by unhoused residents demanding better shelter options. At its peak in 2022, more than 600 people lived there. Composed of tents and temporary structures, Camp Hope lacked even basic infrastructure. Still, it developed its own social systems, supported by peer navigators and organizations like the Empire Health Foundation. The state of Washington invested more than $25 million to transition residents into stable housing. Despite these efforts, challenges remain. As of 2024, Spokane County was estimated to have over 16,000 homeless individuals, worsened by the opioid crisis and inconsistent reporting data. Now let's look at Dignity Village, a unique model of self-governed homelessness relief near Portland International Airport. Founded in 2000 by 8 unhoused individuals who pitched 5 tents on city-owned land, it has since evolved into a legal, transitional encampment housing about 60 residents. Operated as a democratic community, Dignity Village requires members to agree to certain rules and responsibilities. Residents pay modest rent and receive access to basic services like toilets, trash removal, and communal kitchens. Housing consists of tents, tiny homes, and eco-friendly shelters. While the village once faced safety issues, such as a propane explosion, it continues to grow thanks to support from the local nonprofits, volunteers, and Portland City Council policies that formally recognize its role. It's a rare example of a homeless camp that offers both dignity and structure. Next on the list is Nickelsville, a semi-permanent homeless camp network in Seattle that began in 2008 as a protest against then-Mayor Greg Nickels. What started as a political statement has evolved into a rotating system of camps, including Tent City 3 and Tent City 4. These camps operate on borrowed land. Churches and private landowners grant temporary permission. Though typically home to just a few dozen people, Nickelsville is known for its self-governance model. Residents elect leaders, rotate daily tasks, and follow agreed-upon rules. Infrastructure is limited, but some community-donated tiny houses provide more stable shelter. While critics label the camp disorganized, for many who are turned away from traditional shelters, Nickelsville offers safety, autonomy, and dignity. Back in Oregon, Opportunity Village in Eugene stands out as a model for transitional housing. Built on city-owned land as a response to the homelessness crisis after the Occupy movement, the village is run by the nonprofit Square One Villages and has housed 30 to 35 people since 2014. Residents live in compact wooden tiny homes, ranging from 60 to 80 square feet, with no running water or electricity. Shared facilities include a kitchen and bathrooms. In return, residents must follow community rules, pay a symbolic $30 monthly rent, and contribute 10 hours of community work per week. More than 2/3 of residents have successfully transitioned to permanent housing, making Opportunity Village a recognized success in a city with nearly 3,000 unhoused individuals. Still, the village faces ongoing challenges, particularly neighborhood opposition and persistent social stigma. Up north in Anchorage, Alaska, the 3rd Avenue Homeless Camp has become a symbol of systemic breakdown. Located near downtown, this camp shelters over 200 people, many of whom live in tents, broken RVs, or old cars due to a lack of space in the city's overwhelmed shelters. The camp expanded rapidly after the closure of the Sullivan Arena shelter. Now, it's a public health emergency. Portable toilets overflow with used syringes. The air smells of human waste, trash is everywhere, and violence and drug use are rampant. Efforts to clear the camp have been met with legal and ethical resistance. The ACLU has filed lawsuits, claiming that forced evictions without alternative housing violate human rights. Meanwhile, the city struggles to act, citing a shortage of funding, housing options, and long-term solutions. What many people don't realize is that behind the glitz of the Las Vegas Strip, tent cities are quietly growing in the shadows. Along streets like G Street and Carson Avenue, where around 61 people live in cramped tents under brutal desert heat. These makeshift communities serve as a last refuge for former hospitality workers who lost their jobs during the pandemic, individuals with mental health struggles, and those battling substance addiction. With scorching summer temperatures, limited access to medical care, and minimal infrastructure, life here is dangerously fragile. There's little shade, no running water, and few support services, making survival a daily fight in a city known for excess. In Long Beach, California, one of the state's largest and oldest homeless encampments stretches 9.5 miles along the dry bed of the Los Angeles River, sheltering around 246 people. The site is hidden and hard to reach, located beneath overpasses and caught between overlapping agency jurisdictions. Since the 1980s, this area has been a haven for the chronically homeless, most of whom have lived unsheltered for over a year. The city has now launched a $17.4 million relocation effort, including $11 million from the state, to move residents into non-congregate housing, such as motels. Conditions at the site are dire: minimal shelter, no sanitation, and high health risks. The Long Beach Bureau of Homeless Services, supported by groups like the Long Beach Rescue Mission, leads the effort. However, long-term housing availability, mental health support, and the trauma of forced removals remain major barriers. Finally, we arrive at Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia, one of the most well-known symbols of America's intertwined homelessness and drug addiction crisis. Along this infamous strip, about 75 people live in rows of tents and sleeping bags tucked along sidewalks controlled by city authorities. The area is accessible but deeply isolated, a gathering place for those rejected by shelters, especially active opioid and fentanyl users. Camp infrastructure is barely more than cardboard shelters and sleeping bags. Infectious wounds, discarded needles, and visible overdoses are tragically common. Though the city has repeatedly cleared the camps, most residents return because there's simply nowhere else to go. Many shelters have strict rules and are seen as hostile or unsafe for those struggling with addiction.